Yo, hey guys, what is up? It's JJ Tech here, back again for another brand new video, and in today's video we're going to be doing a comparison between the brand new PS5 controller against the previous generation Xbox One controller. Now before we get started, make sure to subscribe down below and turn on those post notifications, and also stay tuned because I will be doing a live stream every single week along with a video every single week. So that's 2 videos a week basically. So it's a live stream and a video every week. Stay tuned for those live streams. So that's why subscribe down below and turn on those little post notifications. So with no further ado, let's get into the video. So we're gonna have different categories. We're gonna start off with the design, then we're gonna go ahead with the features, and then we're gonna go on to the price, and then we're gonna announce the winner and which controller is the best controller to buy. So let's start off with the design of the PlayStation 5 controller here. So as you can see here, it's pretty similar to a PS4 controller in terms of the layout, but everything else is pretty much different from the PS4 controller. I mean, the overall look, you know, the touchpad, the way the lights, where the lights are positioned is different. The light is no longer here at the bottom where you can't even see it. It is now 2 little strips here at the top here, and when you do turn that on, little blue strips do light up. And then also, no longer are these square, triangle, and X and circle colors anymore. They're now like a clear type of button, kind of like the Xbox controller, which I'll get to in a minute. And then the thumbsticks also pretty much unchanged, except they did add these little mini grips. Not sure if you guys can see that. A grip onto the side, just like the Xbox controller. And they did make them a little bit more concave and a little bit stiffer, which is a good thing. And I personally love this design. In fact, I probably prefer this design over the Xbox One controller. It just looks more next generation and it looks more futuristic compared to this controller. But now let's head off to the Xbox One controller design slash Xbox Series X and S controller, because as you know, the Xbox Series X and Xbox Series S pretty much have the same controller as the previous generation Xbox One, and they didn't really change much at all. So let's start off with the overall button layout. Like I said, overall I like this button layout. I've used this obviously way before the PS5 controller, and I've gotten used to the thumbsticks being one down here and one up here. And in fact, I actually do kind of prefer the layout of the thumbsticks. Maybe that's just because I've had this controller way longer than the PS5 controller and I haven't gotten used to it. But for now, I prefer the overall layout of the thumbsticks. But for the buttons themselves, not sure if you can see here, they are colored, but they are like in this clear type of shell. So they are colored, but they are kind of in a clear shell. Not sure if you guys can tell on camera, but yeah, it's pretty much the same as the PS5 controller on these buttons. And then onto the back, we do have the triggers as well, which are a glossy finish as opposed to the PS5 controller, which are a matte finish. And honestly, don't really have that much grip because you can easily just slide your finger off. But these, another problem is that they do get all smudged up. Not sure if you can tell just by doing this, they do get all smudged up. And then one more thing is, this does have a micro USB. I know we're talking about design here, and this has a USB-C. And then the overall design is pretty much traditional Xbox. Xbox has been using this design for a good while now. So yeah, overall design, I gotta give that to the PS5 controller. Now let's move on to comfort. I know I forgot to mention that in the categories. So it's design, comfort, features, and then we're gonna mention the price and then the winner at the end. So 5 categories. Now let's get on to comfort. Now this time, let's start with the Xbox One controller here. And like I said, I've used this for a couple of years now, so I've gotten pretty much used to how the comfort of this design is. And like I said, on the back here, you do have these little grips. Not sure if you guys can see. They have been worn out over time, but they are still present on the controller. Like I said, the Xbox Series X controller also has pretty much the same grip design. They did update it just a little bit, but in this case, it's the Xbox One controller. And the overall comfort is very, very good. Like I said, the comfort on this controller to me is perfect, one of the best in the business. But now let's move on to the PS5 controller. Now I've only had this controller for about a week now, so I can't say my full impressions on the comfort, but on the week that I have been using it, I gotta say guys, this is a very, very good challenger against this guy right here, because the comfort on this thing might be even better than on the Xbox controller. Even though I might prefer the layout of the thumbsticks on the Xbox One controller, the comfort overall, I gotta give this to the PS5. And there's no way of me being biased. Like I said, if you guys think I'm being biased, there's no way of me being biased, because I own both of the consoles. I own the Xbox One and I own the PS5, which you can't see, which is right here. And check out that unboxing video if you haven't seen that. But yeah, I can't be biased towards any of these consoles or any of these controllers. But yeah, I gotta give the win on comfort to the PS5 controller. And now let's move on to one of the most important parts of the controllers other than the comfort, and that's the features. Now let's start off with the features on the PS5 controller, because the PS5 controller is probably the most advanced controller in any console, period. And let's start off with probably the best feature on this controller, and that's the vibration motors and feedback and haptic feedback that you get on this controller. So basically what I mean by that is, when you're in a game, depending on the game, if the game is optimized to use the features on this controller, when you're in a game, basically, let's say you go over a rough surface, you're gonna be able to feel that through the triggers and the controller, and it's gonna be able to feel like you're going over a rough surface. Same thing if you go over like a smooth road in a racing game or whatnot, it's gonna feel like you're going on smooth pavement. And then let's say you're shooting a gun in a gun game, there is going to be a good amount of resistance in the controller. So basically, instead of it being this easy to press, you are going to have a little bit of resistance, kind of like with a real gun. When you do click down the trigger, there is a little bit of resistance. This controller has that, and that to me is insane. And there's this one game that does come already pre-installed on the PS5, and that's Astro's Playroom, and it pretty much shows off everything that this controller has. And another feature that this controller has is gyroscope, kind of like the Wii remote, where you could tilt it like a car game and stuff like that. This has that as well. And another feature, which is another key feature of this controller, is that it has a built-in mic. Not sure if you can see here, but this button right here lets you mute it and unmute it, and the mics are located right here. This little hole right here, as well as another hole right here, and those are the mics. And that is very impressive. So now you can't have an excuse and say that you don't have a headset, because guess what? You have a mic built right into the controller, which is a very, very neat feature, and honestly, definitely is miles ahead of this controller, which we'll get to right now. And another feature is the touchpad. Now I know this isn't new. It was present on the PS4 controller, but they have improved it. The touch response is better now. No longer will you have latency between when you are, let's say, trying to type on the keyboard. It is now perfect. There will be no latency, as far as what Sony said. I will have to test that. I haven't really tested that too much, just because I forget that this thing even has a touchpad. Now another feature this thing has is it does have a built-in speaker. Yet again, not new. The PS4 controller did have that as well. And another last amazing feature is that you can have voice to text on this controller. So if you're searching up, let's say in the PlayStation Store, a game, and you don't want to type, you can easily use the mics on this controller, and you could speak. Let's say you want to say Call of Duty. It'll put it kind of like Google search. When you click the little mic icon, it'll do voice to text, which is very impressive. You can also do that on YouTube, but not on every app, is something that I noticed. I guess the developers do have to update it so you can be able to use that feature. But for now, guys, I gotta say this thing packs a bunch of features. But now let's move on to the features of the Xbox One, and I gotta say, compared to the PS5 controller, it does not have much. Now the first feature I want to get out of the way is that the Xbox One controller also has haptic feedback on the triggers and the bumpers, just like the PS5, but not nearly as advanced as the PS5. For example, if you're in a racing game like Forza and you do step on the gas, it only gives off a slight vibration like when you're stepping on the gas, but that's about it. You don't really get any other sense of vibration or haptics in the trigger, like I said. And let's say when you're in a shooting game, you also get some haptics, but you don't get that sense of pressure when you are clicking the trigger. So I guess you can say the Xbox had the haptics on the triggers way before the PS5, but the PS5 improved upon that and made it even better. Now one feature I forgot to mention, if you can even call it a feature, is that they both do have a 3.5mm headphone jack. So if you guys want to use your headset, you can do that on both of the controllers. Now there really is no other features that really stand out to me that I should point out in this video other than those haptic and those vibrations on the triggers, and as obviously it has those vibrations also on the whole controller. There really is no other features I can mention. Since this is the Xbox One controller and not the Series X controller, there is no share button present in the middle of the controller, so I can't even count that as a feature because I don't have that on this controller. But yeah, in terms of this category, in terms of the feature category, yet again the PS5 takes that. And now let's get on to the price. So let's start off with the PS5 controller right here on Best Buy. Right now they do cost $69.99, and there is only one color, and that is this right here. Right now, as of this video, there is no other available colors for the PS5 controller since it did just get released. And I gotta say, the controller is pretty expensive. I mean, 70 bucks, but yet again, you are packing a bunch of features on this controller. Now for the Xbox One controller slash Xbox Series X controller, I will be popping up the Series X controller just because they're practically the same, other than the Xbox Series X controller has a couple more features. So I will be popping up that price here at Best Buy, and that one is a little bit cheaper. You can get it between 50 and 60 bucks, so it is $10 to $20 cheaper than the PS5 controllers, but yet again, it doesn't have as much features as the PS5 controller. But now let's get on to who won this video. And I think you guys know which one is the winner. And yes guys, the PS5 controller is the winner against the Xbox One controller slash Series X and S controller. It just packs way more features, way more advanced. It looks next gen, you know, has USB-C, a bunch of the modern features that this controller just does not have. But overall guys, like I said, one thing that I do prefer over the PS5 is the thumbstick layout, but other than that, the PS5 controller is gonna take this challenge. But yeah guys, that's pretty much it for today's video. Don't forget to subscribe down below, and thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.